As you might know, I'm a huge fan of GUST, Koei Tecmo and the Atelier series. I've played pretty much every modern Atelier game and have covered a lot of this long-running series. Atelier Marie Remake is a long-awaited remake of the first ever game in the series, which a lot of fans were really pleased to see. Since fans in the West never played these games in English, this was finally a chance to see the origins of the series. In this video, I'll be reviewing the game, comparing it to other Atelier games, saying what I loved about it, and what didn't hit quite as well. A huge thank you to Koei Tecmo for the review code. Alright, let's get into it. If you've played any Atelier game, the Arlen Trilogy in particular, the starting concept will be very familiar to you. You play as a young female alchemist named Marlone, but given the nickname Marie. She has a laid-back slacker type personality and is the student with the worst grades in Salburg Academy, the famous alchemy school in the town. As the intro video quickly points out, this game isn't a typical fantasy RPG where you're playing the hero saving the world. It's a spotlight on the ordinary characters, holding down the fort in the towns. Basically, a much more cozy, relaxed version of an RPG, which laid the foundations for the Atelier series moving forward. As I said earlier, Marie is failing her alchemy studies horrendously, so her professor Ingrid comes up with an idea to try and help Marie succeed. Basically, she's given her own workshop to practice alchemy, and a 5-year deadline to synthesize an item that meets a good enough standard for Ingrid. If Marie can craft a decent enough item before the deadline, she'll pass the exam. You can already tell, compared to other Atelier games, this is an extremely simple premise. But, to be fair, it was the very first game in the series. Of course, the game flow consists of the usual activities such as combat, gathering items and materials, alchemy, which is the crafting of this world, and getting closer to your party members. As I said, this is a more simple premise than we're used to from modern games. However, the game is so easy to pick up and get into that it's super fun and addictive. I would describe it as my first Atelier or Atelier for Dummies, so it's a perfect entry point for newbies to the series. The alchemy is very simple and menu-based. For example, no big gimmick or puzzle mechanics compared to the mysterious or Ryza trilogy. You can't even duplicate items, although you do have fairies helping you craft things later in the game. The remake does beef up certain game mechanics to add more variety, and it introduces new bite-sized goals which guide your progression and give you some direction. This is mostly in the form of letters from Ingrid, your professor, which give you a rough idea of what you should be doing at each point in the year. I found that once I got the hang of the game, it got super addictive. Everything's on a timer in the original game, but the remake has an unlimited mode, where you can take as long as you want. This is the mode I used, and it meant I could grind and explore to my heart's content. I'm really relieved GUST gave players the option. What took some getting used to? Okay, let's get the slightly negative points out of the way. Not really negative, but just different aspects that I had to get used to. As I said, the game is very simple compared to newer titles. This is also tied to the game's length, which can genuinely be as short as 4 to 6 hours, depending on your playthrough. I actually found this short length really refreshing though. And unlike the Ryza series, it's a game that encourages multiple playthroughs and play styles. There are lots of different endings to get, depending on what you achieve during your playthrough. For example, if you focus on synthesizing every single item and maxing out your knowledge, you might get one particular ending. If you focus on the bonds with certain party members or adventuring aspect, you might get another ending. If you trigger multiple endings, however, unfortunately, you can't choose the one you get, so you might need a guide if you're having trouble with this. It's very different from Ryza or the Mysterious Trilogy, which just had different character arcs or events that could be seen at any time before you finish the game. Battle is very basic, but there is an auto mode and high speed mode, which makes it super painless. Certain battle items are very overpowered, and grinding for a certain ore in caves can also get you some great bonuses early on. Again, this next point isn't really a negative. The characters are simple but very charming. You need to pay wages to most party members if you want them to join you in combat. The higher their friendship, the lower the wages get though. The remake does add a bit more meat and additional character events, but sadly, these are unvoiced. I think this is because the game retains the original voice track from 1997. This is both good and bad, as it retains the retro charm and spirit of the original, but more voiced events would have been nice, to be honest. I grew to like the characters a lot, but just being honest, don't expect a huge emotional arc or development compared to the Ryza trilogy or the Dusk trilogy. This was just a simpler time, and that's okay. I loved the simple but addictive game flow, which laid the foundation for future Atelier games. There are lots of little goals and things to work towards, which makes it feel rewarding. I also loved the gorgeous live 2D sprite work, which makes the characters feel alive and has so much personality. The original Japanese voice work from '97 also complements this. Similar to the voice track, the deformed chibi 3D models and environments give a cute upgrade without straying too far from the original game's spirit. I think it was a perfect choice to match the simple gameplay. Keep in mind that the original game didn't even have free exploration. The music has been upgraded beautifully too, in my opinion, with lush sounding instruments that match the modern GUST aesthetic. It still keeps the spirit of the original, without sounding out of place. You can also switch to the original BGM at any time, if you're curious about how it sounded. My personal recommendation is to buy the BGM Change DLC and switch out some of the tracks. I actually changed most tracks to the CL No Surge soundtrack, a beautiful sounding GUST game that we never got officially in the West. If you can afford the DLC, I recommend you do the same. While I did kind of list it as a negative, I enjoyed the replayability factor of the game, encouraging multiple endings and playstyles. There are goals, sure, but you're given a lot of freedom to play how you want to. Not as much hand-holding compared to newer games. In summary, Atelier Marie Remake is a simple but absolutely gorgeous, charming little game which had me addicted instantly. There's just something about the Atelier series that is so wholesome and immersive. It just has a different feel from all the indie, crafting-based games on Steam, for example. GUST has said on the record that they're planning more remakes for older GUST games. Please, GUST, bring us remakes of the Atelier Irish Trilogy and Mana Khemia games. The fans are begging and waiting for them. They'll sell like hotcakes, honestly. I'm a tad disappointed with the recent announcement we got from GUST. I'm seeing quite a universal disappointment amongst the fanbase when it comes to mobile gacha games. We want more original console games, more charming remakes. I highly recommend you pick up Atelier Marie Remake, and check out my other videos about the Atelier series as well. Check the description and pick your poison. I promise you won't regret it. Thanks for watching and take care. Bye.